muy malo. Brutto el paso de vestuario. La interpretación siempre negativa. Siempre negativa. Nunca positiva.
Hello, welcome to Siempre es Positivo after Barcelona's 3-0 win against Mallorca at the weekend kept them top of La Liga. I'm Sam Marsden, joined by Rik, Sharma and Toni Marti. Rik, how are you?
Not too bad. Looking at different houses at the moment. It's time to move flats and it's a minefield out there.
Yeah, you could do a whole podcast series on the housing market in Barcelona.
Yeah, it probably is room for one.
Don't know how interesting it would be for everyone else.
No, not for Siempre Positivo listeners maybe, unless they're planning on moving here, but there's probably a gap in the market for one.
Toni, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you. What about you?
Yeah, all good, thanks. I'm always caught cold when you ask me how I am. But yeah, all good. Monday morning, Carnival week in Barcelona. Don't know if that's a thing for all of you. It's a thing at schools.
I think it is everywhere. We're going to go to Roses next weekend for the Carnival.
Toni, Carnival plans?
Not for me.
Not for you. The famous one in Barcelona is, of course, Sitges. Have you ever been?
Yeah, I've been there.
Well, just outside of Barcelona, I guess.
When I was 18, 19, Tuesday night. Oof, lots of stories that I could share with you. But, when you're young, now these years are already forgotten. But yes, it was nice years, yes. Sitges is one of the biggest party when it's about Carnaval in Catalonia, so yeah. Great atmosphere there.
Why Tuesday night? It was a Tuesday night thing at the Carnival.
Yeah, I
didn't
don't
know
know.
that.
It was always Monday night or Tuesday night, so it was complicated because normally the following day we had to go to school or to university, but we always went there, drinking a lot, crazy nights. But now, different lifestyle, my friend, right now.
Yeah. Right, lots of things going on in the Barcelona world today, Monday and over the weekend. Joan Laporta, Monday, has officially resigned in order to rerun for president. Obviously, the election coming up in March, coming just after Barcelona have officially, to no one's massive surprise, announced their withdrawal from the failed European Super League project. But we'll start with the game at Camp Nou on Saturday, where Barcelona beat Mallorca 3-0. Once again, a disappointing first half from Barca. Struggled to get going. Mallorca probably the better team until Robert Lewandowski opened the scoring in the 29th minute. Perhaps some fortune to the way the goal fell. A Marcus Rashford shot blocked, coming off Dani Olmo, and then Lewandowski providing the finish, and Barca went on to improve in the second half. A brilliant goal from Lamine, his 6th in 7 games, his 10th in La Liga this season, the first time he's reached double figures in the Spanish top flight. And then a first Barcelona goal for Marc Bernal as well in the 83rd minute, sealing the 3-0 win, which kept Barca 1 point clear of Real Madrid at the top of the table, because Madrid won 2-0 at Valencia on Sunday. Rik, thoughts on that Barcelona performance from Camp Nou?
Yeah, it wasn't great. I have to be honest. It's funny. There's a tweet from Santi Cazorla yesterday which said La Liga is light years behind the Premier League in multiple ways, or in various ways. And of course, he was talking about Rayo's game against Real Oviedo being cancelled on the pitch and stuff, rather than necessarily sort of how entertaining the football is. Although maybe you could say that's included in part of what he was saying. But I was thinking that he was completely right. I mean, I was very bored watching this game until a moment of quality from Lamine in the second half, and I was even more bored watching Real Madrid against Valencia on Sunday night, which Madrid won at Mestalla. So yeah, it was just a poor first half. I agree with Hansi Flick's analysis of the first half that Barca were pretty bad in the first half, and in the second half, yeah, they stepped up a level, but not to a degree which was particularly entertaining or anything to write home about.
Yeah, Toni, quick thoughts on Barcelona's performance against Mallorca or the game in general?
I'm not going to be very original. More or less same analysis. I want important games to come. I still feel Barca is too weak defending. Jan Virgili did what he wanted. Murici, who was supposed to be the new god, didn't score, but Mallorca for me was much better than Barcelona in the first half. as you say before Lewandowski's goal. So I feel the same, but well, I don't want that it seems that I put the emphasis on the bad thing. I have already said about this. Then I can try to look at the positive things. And this team, even if it's not the best team in terms of it's not perfect team, ends up beating you because the intensity that Barcelona normally plays, the mentality that this team has normally brings you to these things, to wait for your moment. No, it's like I'm starting to feel like Barca players already accepted and know that on the first minutes the opponent is going to create some danger, but it's like, okay, don't worry, we will take it when we have it. And this is important to be champion team. You have to know to learn to suffer, and this, yes, it's important when important games come. To know to wait for your moment, but not conceding a lot of chances during that bad period, and Barcelona is conceding too much. But yes, that goal of Lewandowski, even if it's lucky goal for me, I wrote this on the Discord. It's perfectly that kind of goal that can give you the Champions League, because in finals these goals happen. Details, everybody is very concentrated, and this kind of second action is perfectly the goal that I can imagine if Lewandowski has to score one. The only one chance that you will have has to be a goal. So, important that Lewandowski has, even if he's not playing well, one chance, one goal. Apart from this, not many more conclusions. I think Barcelona still needs a little bit more. Yes, Rick?
Yeah, I'm glad actually that you kind of brought it around a little bit to Positivo, because I got the negative out of our system at the start of the pod. I think there are some positives to take. One of them is Rashford. I think Rashford in this game, he didn't score or assist technically, but he was bright, and he kind of impulsed Barca to step up a gear and win this game. It was him who, like, the start was really, really drab from Barca, but then Rashford decided, okay, let's try and make something happen here, and he had a shot which went just wide. It was his shot that was blocked that ended up with Olmo being able to give it to Lewandowski for the opening goal. He looks dangerous from free kicks. Obviously, he scored one the other day, and he had another free kick that was a great save by Leo Roman in this game, which ended up in a huge chance for Lamine Yamal actually, but he missed from point blank range. Obviously, he made amends in the second half with a very nice goal. And is in good goal scoring form. And there's other positives too, like Marc Bernal's goal that Sam mentioned, first goal for the club, nice moment for him. The debut for Tommy Marquez. I think Flick was keen to make something like that happen after Dro's departure. But yeah, there are some positives too. But I think we just had to get the complaints out of our system in the front of the pod.
Yeah, Rashford had 8 shots, most of them from outside the box, like you say, coming inside and sort of rifling off on his right foot. It probably felt like, and I don't think it will be a point of inflection or anything. I think he'll remain in the role that he is if Rafinha's fit as sort of an impact player off the bench, etc. I don't think he'll ever quite manage to completely sort of replicate or buy into the way that Rafinha plays, because there's not many players that could. But it did feel a little bit like, and this, like I say, without going too far, the first time I felt like Rashford, like you said, sort of said, look, I'm here and I'll not put the team on my back, but a little bit like I'm going to be the man that can maybe make something happen here. Whereas in the past, I felt a little bit like, I know he's had big moments like against Newcastle, etc., but it felt like he's a little bit happy. I mean, there was a line in the Telegraph piece, I think Jason Burt did last week, where it's like what Marcus Rashford likes about being in Barcelona is that the focus isn't on him. And, if Barca lose, there are other people that are criticised, etc., and he can sort of get on with his life a little bit. But it's been a little bit like that on the pitch as well. Like he's, happy to play that secondary role. And it felt a little bit like maybe in the first half against Mallorca that he was sort of the one that was maybe trying to make things happen.
Yeah, I think maybe even it's the exact process that needed to happen, that he had to come here and sort of bow down to the team and be a substitute and be someone who did what he was told and helped by Hansi Flick. And only after that happened, after that sort of, it almost sounds like psychological, but after that sort of, his ego was broken down in that way, he can then start to say, okay, and this is what I can do. Now I can show you also what I can do. And he can do that in a game like this. And I agree with you. I think it was maybe apart from that Newcastle game, the first time where it's felt like, okay, Rashford is the guy that in this game is driving things.
Tony, let's link Rashford to someone you mentioned, Jan Virgili. I know this was a discussion on the Discord. I don't think it's necessarily fair to compare them, but if it's the option at the summer, Barcelona want to invest elsewhere, you've got 30 million to sign on Rashford, or you bring Virgili back as your backup left winger. Both very different players. The Osasuna coach, speaking about Virgili afterwards, described him as more of like a street player. You know, he's a dribbler, he's technical, he's tricky. Perhaps doesn't have, you know, that ability that Rashford has, you know, striking the ball, creating chances. I mean, if you look at the numbers Rashford's posted this year, it's hard to imagine Jan Virgili posting anything similar to that. But he showed glimpses, like you said, in the first half, that he could perhaps have a future at Barcelona. I'm not exactly sure of the terms of his move to Mallorca. I guess it's always important to point out with these players as well, he's not actually sort of a La Masia trained product. He's someone who'd been knocking around various teams in Catalonia most of his life. I think he came to Barca in 2024 from Talat Nastic to Tarragona, was it? Had a sort of 18 months with the club and then moved to Mallorca this summer. What did you make of him and Rashford, the two left wingers in the game?
First thing is that Barca sold Jan Virgili because they needed to create space in terms of financial fair play. So first weak point is that you were in a bad situation, because normally you can bring him on loan, or maximum you can sell him but with good conditions. I think still Barcelona has 50% of the rights, or they can have like that, they can buy him again, but normally it doesn't happen, because someone who is yours having to pay is like makes it unlikely normally, unless we are talking about a big player. For me, it was a mistake of Barca, 100%. No, you have to have your players under control. You have always to find the deal. Of course, that sometimes can mean giving them a good salary. Of course, nothing is for free on this life. So, for me, you should have reached an agreement with him. I will give you good salary. You can go there on loan, or some kind of that you keep big part of his control. For me, he's amazing winger, Jan Virgili. Not because of his performance. I mean, amazing his profile. Nowadays, it's difficult to see these kind of wingers that go directly to the goal, straight ahead to the goal that fast. Because normally most of the players are not like this anymore. So for me, it's a jewel, Jan Virgili. Of course, I'm not saying he has to play everybody. No, there is no space for everybody. This I know. I'm just saying, keeping him under good control, and then if he smashes it, you can bring him back. That's what I think Barca should have done. Does it mean that Rashford was a mistake, or it's him or Rashford? No, I think we don't have to do this comparison, because as I always say, as I said in the last pod when I talked about my argument with Ansu Fanboy, you have to work on two speeds. Rashford was the short-term speed. For sure, it makes sense to have him on loan or to sign him for 1-2 years. And this is the future speed of Jan Virgili. So I don't think it's one or the other. You could have had, for example, Rashford this season, and if you don't want to pay, you can bring Jan Virgili back, or all these things. So I don't think it's one or the other. For me, Rashford is performing well, yes, and 30 million, it's not a lot. It makes sense to bring him, to be honest, to pay this amount of money. But even if this happens, it's still valid that for me as a club, you didn't manage the best way possible the situation of Jan Virgili, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the question with Rashford, as much as the 30 million, though, is how much he would be willing to take on his salary, because obviously his salary would place him as one of the top earners, when in theory he may not be a guaranteed starter at Barcelona.
Yeah, and it's also interesting the ages of the different players. Like Virgili's 19, his huge career ahead of him, whereas Rashford is 28, I think, off the top of my head, and Rafinha is 29. And obviously they're a similar age, and both of them within the next few years are going to start sort of losing some of the attributes that make them so good right now. And so I think that there has to be careful management of the situation. You don't want to end up with sort of tying down Rashford and also Rafinha, and then both of them end up dropping off a cliff at some point, and you've got both of them and you're stuck with them. You kind of need one of the two, and then maybe a Virgili. Yeah,
maybe. I mean, like Tony says, it's not one or the other. It's just a debate that come up on the Discord. And also, it's always difficult to judge these situations. And if Virgili only goes to Mallorca on loan, are they so invested in him? I think it does help sometimes this side of the deal that Mallorca are also invested in him and have that sort of incentive to help him improve, because otherwise you can get to stage of the season where even, look, obviously if he's good enough and he's amazing, he's going to play anyway, but when perhaps they might have doubts about playing someone who's still going to be there next season or whatnot. I mean, I know there was already a problem at Mallorca at the start of the season. Was it with the winger Daniel Rodriguez when Jan Virgili came off the bench and he didn't come off and he started complaining and stuff? And I'm not saying that wouldn't have happened, because that was when he had just signed, if he was signed on loan, but you know, it's more likely to happen in these situations with a player that you have signed or that you are invested in more than just a loan deal. Yeah, like Rik said as well, also first goal for Marc Bernal and a start for Marc Cazorla. Any other talking points, Tony, from the game before we start hearing from Rik's ratings?
No. Just what I said. No concrete points. Another good game of Eric, who keeps shouting my mouth. Not really a good game of Lamine, in my opinion. Not really good game of Lamine, even if he scored that amazing goal. And no. Just waiting for the key moments to arrive, and then we will see what's the reality. If we have been too pessimistic or if we have been too realistic and warning regarding the storm before it comes. So, no more conclusions. 3 points and still going ahead of La Liga.
Rik, back to the point you made at the beginning, actually, just because obviously what Tony's saying there, you know, at the start of the season we made comments about Barcelona and Real Madrid potentially getting sort of close to 100 points this season because perhaps of the quality of the other teams. And although I don't think we're going to see 100-point seasons, we are seeing, you know, a very, very poor Real Madrid side sort of still getting results most weekends, whether it's to do with external factors or them playing well or other teams being bad or however you want to look at it. You know, for all the sort of memes in the Champions League and the Copa del Rey, they've won their last 5 games in the Liga. They're still 1 point behind Barcelona and Real Madrid. Well, Madrid in second, 12 points clear of Atletico in third. I mean, if you look at those teams fighting for sort of relegation, Rayo Vallecano in 18th with 22 points. You can go up to 7 points separate them from Osasuna in 9th place, and they've played a game less, etc. How poor is the quality of La Liga this season in terms of, you obviously said it was boring and not sort of, I don't know if I put words in your mouth there, was that what you said for the Madrid and Barcelona game this weekend? Sort of not entertaining, at least.
Very boring.
How much of that do you think is down to quality of the other teams?
I think, to some extent it is, and especially, like, for example, Atletico signed Lookman in this transfer window. He's obviously a good player, but the way that I was watching Spanish TV yesterday, to watching the Atletico game and the Madrid game after, and the way that people were raving about him was like, come on, he's just like in the Premier League. If the Premier League club signed him, he'd just be a completely average player in the Premier League. He wouldn't be like top 10% of the league. And he's like, and they were saying, oh, he's now one of the stars of this league, and it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Tony, what do you make of the quality of Liga? Do you enjoy watching games that aren't Barca games? Obviously, you watch a lot of youth football at the moment around Catalonia and stuff in your new job. But in terms of La Liga, do you find watching the games entertaining at the moment? What do you think of the overall quality? Because I think it was you as well at the start of the season who said, I think we all said that we thought that Barcelona and Real Madrid could be quite dominant this season. Perhaps points-wise not as dominant as we suggested, but certainly in terms of position and point gap-wise they are.
No, for me this is a point for sure. It reminds me when I used to be big fan of handball. Used to go to Palau Blaugrana because almost 15-20 years ago it was a golden period of handball of Barca, making incredible comebacks, winning Champions League with a great team. There was a great atmosphere on the Palau, and the level of Barca was that high in La Liga, and also the level of the opponents were that low that not most, but some seasons they were smashing everybody, and then it was incredible because they had like 60 perfect games, and then they were losing in penalties on the Final Four or in the semi-final by a team who was much worse than them. Why? Because they were not used to be under pressure, because they were not used to be tight game until the last minutes. What I want to tell you with this is that 100% the level of La Liga is a shit. Sorry for saying this in English, I don't have other words. Because, we have said the same, no? Good centre-backs going to Aston Villa, as Diego Carlos, it happened, with Carlos Vicente going to Birmingham. Well, not only these examples, I can tell you lots of examples, no?
Jeremy Pino to Palace.
Jeremy Pino, and much more. A lot of players doing this. So it's obvious that the quality of the teams is now nothing. Just take a look on the standings and check that Espanyol, which is a top team in terms of intensity and defending, but no talent at all, is there 5th or 6th on the table. Espanyol, with all my respect. Yeah. So this is punishing Barca, Atletico Madrid and Athletic in Europe. And it's not casual for me that, okay, Barca made top 8, but on the last minute. Villarreal was almost the last team of Champions League. Almost the last. I think they got 1 or 2 points. Athletic Club, I think they are out also. Not even in the top 16, right?
Out, yeah.
Yes?
Out. Not in the top 24.
Out.
Not in the top 24.
Yeah, sorry, top 24. Atletico, out of top 8. Madrid, out of top 8. And Barca, okay, yes, but doing a good Champions League first period, still needed last minute goals and good luck to be there. So Spanish teams have a problem because the intensity, the level is really under the Champions League level. So when you go around Europe and you face decent teams, you got surprised. Slavia Praga scores you twice on 45 minutes. Benfica scores you 4 goals. Atletico loses against Bodo Glimt. This is, ¿cómo se dice una gota? ¿Una gota? ¿Cómo se dice una gota de agua?
A leak.
¿Cómo? Leak.
A drip or a leak, yeah.
But the name, not a leak, gota, cling, which is the name of
a drip.
A drip. This is not from one year for another, but you were on top of the world like 10 years ago, and cling, little by little, you have lost all the quality. It all started with Neymar going to PSG, then also players gone, Varane left, you needed to sell players, and it kept like this, and right now, it's not, the funny point is that it's not only compared with Premier League. The intensity comparing also with some games of Italian League or Bundesliga is much more is lower than their intensity. That's why we see these big problems of the Spanish teams in Champions League.
Yeah, and actually, in terms of 100 points, I don't think Barca are going to get to 100 points, but they're on course. If they keep scoring points at the rate they've scored this season, they're on course for 96 points, which isn't, a million miles away. Last season they won the league with 80-something points, 88 was it? Something like that. And you kind of expect Barca will do a bit better in the second half than they did in the first half. They had quite a down spell in the first half, and I think the performances have got better since then, and hopefully will continue to get better. So it's not impossible they end up with 100 points.
Yeah, it's going to be above 90. You would have thought at the moment, save a major drop off, especially as Barcelona and Real Madrid keep winning, because there's that need for them both to therefore keep winning. There's no margin for error now since that Real Sociedad defeat a couple of weeks ago.
If Barca do pull away from Madrid and Madrid sort of dip out of the title race, then of course Barca don't need to get. They might finish on less points if they've got no urgency in the league. Obviously, to some extent, depends on the situation rather than just how good they are.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how strong our words hold as well in the next couple of weeks, as Barcelona and Real Madrid have tough ties in the Champions League and the Copa del Rey coming up in February and March. Madrid obviously in the knockout round, Barca obviously Atletico in the Copa semi-final, then definitely the last 16 for Barca, potentially last 16 of the Champions League for Real Madrid, etc. May put a slight change on some of those league results as priorities shift or focuses go elsewhere. All right then, Rick, let's hear the ratings from Barcelona 3, Mallorca 0.
Yeah, Joan Garcia, I gave him a 7. Didn't have a lot to do, but made one good save in the second half when I think Barca were 3-0 up at this point, but he still made a good save when someone was through on goal. Jules Kounde, 4.5 out of 10, probably Barca's worst performer, and that's not the first time this season that's been the case. Was given a tough time by Virgili, and just moments of really just lack of concentration or poor awareness of what's going on around him. Just a big worry. Pau Kubasi 6.5, Eric 7, Balde 6.5, all pretty solid. Casado 6.5, almost 6. Although he got 2 assists, but these numbers are not trustworthy. Neither assist is particularly remarkable. He was okay, but yeah. Fermin 6, Lamine, I've given him a 7. He was decent, not very good in the first half, better after the break. Lewandowski 6.5, Rashford 7.5, probably up there with Barca's best. Give Bernal a 7.5 off the bench. That's about it.
Why Lewandowski 6.5?
Well, it was better than in some recent games in terms of his actions. When he was involved, he wasn't a leak, to use the same word as earlier. He wasn't always giving the ball away, and obviously opened the scoring.
Vale.
Yeah, 10th goal of the season in La Liga, like Lamine. Rick, how sustainable is Lamine Yamal's scoring streak? Because it feels like most of them have been bangers. If you think about, the Chilena type effort a couple of weeks ago, this one against Mallorca, even the one in the Copa del Rey in midweek was an absolute sort of banger, taking it on the bounce, and then, like you say, missed that tap in at the far post. Yeah,
well, there you go. The goals he's scoring might not be that sustainable, but the chances he's missing probably aren't sustainable either, to keep missing them. So I think he's doing well. He's looking in the best sort of run of form he's had this season, and I think over time he's gonna get better at polishing off those easier chances, even if you can't always keep scoring amazing goals.
Other news then, how surprised are you to see the death? Is this the definitive death of the Super League now that Barcelona have officially announced they're out of the project?
At least for 2 or 3 years.
How can it continue now with just Real Madrid left? Obviously there were 12 teams when it launched. It went down pretty quickly to 3. Then Juventus left. It was just Real Madrid and Barcelona. Now it's just Real Madrid. Laporta sort of saying that Barca are reintegrating into UEFA and European football clubs, EFC, as they're branded now. Is Perez going to carry this fight on? Obviously that Unified League launched in 2024 with, in a bizarre way, obviously no support from anyone other than Barca and Madrid. Surely this is it. Surely we don't have to hear about the European Super League again in its current guise.
Well, that's exactly what I mean. In the current guise, probably not, but in other guises, which people later down the line come up with, you probably will have to hear about it. Yeah.
And Tony, Joan Laporta's resigned, although obviously just formality on Monday. Rafa Yusta in charge, and we're on the countdown for elections now.
Well, pure circus, protocol things, no game, as I said. So I'm not even paying attention to all these things. So please, in following chapters, avoid asking me a lot of things regarding this, because it's not interesting at all unless something happens. As things stand now, we shouldn't spend more than 1 minute talking out of elections. Well, if we have some question regarding some of our listeners that they want to discover any freak that says that they want to become candidates and all these things, we can explain for sure, but just this, nothing else.
No, we can definitely at some point explain the candidates. There's a new one today, a guy I'd never heard of, with a funny sounding name called William Maddock.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to mean when I said freak people. Yeah.
When Sam sent me that this morning, I was like, he sounds like he's from the 1800s. Like, welcome to the court of William Maddock.
Yeah, the stories actually all tie together, really, don't they? Because the timing of the Super League official announcement, obviously, it was last October when Joan Laporta was in Rome for, was it the EFC meeting, etc. And there's been stuff with Ceferin and obviously the PSG president Al Khalifi, who's also the president of EFC, etc. So this rupture from the Super League has been well known for a few months now. The timing on Saturday, just before he has to officially step down for the elections, feels a little bit like playing to the saucies in plan. Look, we hate Real Madrid so much, we're leaving their project, etc. We're not involved with it to avoid any sort of awkward questions during the campaign period of, but you're still you left the club involved in the European Super League just to completely draw the line under that, as well as I think we mentioned it before, obviously there was the meeting with the supporters groups a few weeks ago about bringing back a sort of animation section, which sort of also felt a little bit like perhaps sowing the seeds to, if not get them completely back on side and voting, just to at least sort of restore the relationship a little bit there and leave some optimism there in terms of an election campaign. I think Laporta's been playing the game for a couple of weeks now in the club, haven't they, Rick?
Yes, as Tony said, circus, theatre, kind of gestures and just going through the motions, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be, there's going to be stuff to talk about in the coming weeks, even though Tony says what he says. I think it does feel very much at the moment like it's going to be a one-horse race. I can't imagine any of the candidates, Victor Font, Javi Villajoana, Marc Syria, etc., getting close to Joan Laporta at the moment. there's obviously a lot of stock being put in the fact things are going well on the pitch, and the fact that, you know, a vote for Laporta is a vote for stability in terms of Hansi Flick and Deco, etc. Whether you rate Deco's work or not is certainly sort of putting the success of last season and the fact that Barca are still competing on all fronts this season on their shoulders, and the idea of continuity being the best way to go.
No, that I was thinking right now a stupid small tidbit that this Sunday when I was on the Barca training ground, watching for some young kids games of Barca under 13. This is my homework right now, so I have to keep an eye to these young talents. Barca under 13, they were playing against Granollers, which is a decent club from outside of Barcelona, and the right back of Granollers was Max Font. In fact, the son of Victor Font, who was in the stands. I greeted him and we were talking a little bit regarding the elections, because I have good relationship with Victor. He said that yes, he knows the tempos is not the best one for the elections, but still, and even if it looks difficult, he feels that he has the responsibility to push, to go until the end, to make Barca feel pressed, to be transparent, and to get a better Barca. So he said that's committed. He's committed with this, despite of the situation that for sure is not really optimistic for him, but he believes that they can have a good results.
You think he genuinely believes that they could win or not? It's a very small percent chance.
I don't think he believes he can win. He didn't tell me I'm not going to win, but I know he's not a stupid guy. He knows that he knows he's not going to win, I think. But he didn't tell me this. It's different. I don't want to say he told me. No, he didn't tell me. But
just
I don't think...
the impression, sensation, yeah.
But no. On his impression, he was optimistic. Because maybe it's part of the plan to don't show himself already not optimistic. But for me, on his head, when he's with Pijam at home with his wife, he knows that he's not going to win at all.
Yeah, but it seems like a decent thing to do, like you say, to at least put that pressure on to try and improve things, even if you can't win the election.
Yeah. More than you see at Real Madrid. Tony, one final question actually is it Max Font? Have you signed him up? Didn't pass the test. Not good enough for your agency.
No, you know, it's not funny, or it's not what I love to keep an eye on people, on players of 13 years old or 14. But then if you don't take an eye there, in a couple of years it's too late. In my case, no, I didn't fall in love with Max Font, to be honest. Yes. Not
the marquee signing of next summer.
Yeah. Not the one for the moment, but who knows? Good thing is that sometimes players are one thing with 13 and another thing with 16.
Yeah. Especially when the psychological stuff comes in and it's about mentally adapting to what situation they're in, rather than just...
Not only between 13 and 16, you can be shit and after 2 years be one of the greatest strikers in the world. You know how these things go. When you are the shark.
We finally got in a mention just at the end. Just at the end we got there. I was worried we were going to go a whole episode without a mention of the shark.
Yeah, that's what I did it. That's why I did it.
Tony's right, 90% right. I just don't agree with the last bit of what he said about the transformation.
Yeah. Vale.
Right, that's all we've got time for this week. A big week for Barcelona. On Thursday they go to Madrid for the first leg of the Copa del Rey semi-final against Atletico Madrid. Second leg not until the start of March, back at Camp Nou. We'll be back on Friday after that game on Patreon. In the meantime, stay positive.